evening, everyone. Welcome to the Heart of a Pastor. I am Alesia Brown, your host, and I'm so glad that you decided to join us on tonight. I'm with my good friend Shelaine Vieux tonight, and we're going to have a wonderful time here tonight. If you're joining us for the first time, the Heart of a Pastor is under the flagship of Eagles Rising Initiative. And we are raising up a new breed of leaders to learn how to leverage the pain of their past, their present, and to teach, to train, and transform their community. All of us go through hardships. All of us go through difficulty, but we ought to learn something from it, and we ought to be helping people along the way. This is a safe place where you can talk about those things, and hopefully we can have an intimate, we can have a authentic discussion. I just want to say good evening to everyone that's here. I want you to take a moment right now, and please, this is a very, very important subject. I want you to share it. I want you to invite some friends to come and join us, because this is something that if you're not dealing with, you will know somebody who's dealing with it. You have heard of it, and it's just a great opportunity. This is a great resource to share. So I want to shout out some people and say hello to Ann, Patricia Ann. Thank you for joining us. She's shouting you out, Shelaine.
I didn't know I could see too.
Want to say hello to Doreen Parker from Sacramento. Thank you. Yay. Thank you for sharing, Doreen. Good evening, Eileen. I appreciate you guys so much. I thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have a wonderful time. Good evening, Yolanda Johnson. How are you this evening? Thank you for joining us. I am really, really excited about this.
Hey. That's my good friend, sister friend.
I'm really excited about it. All right. Good to have sister friends. I think you might have another one here, because I don't recognize this name. Divana. Is it Divana?
It's another sister friend.
Am I pronouncing the name right?
Divana.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I want to say, before we even get started tonight, that we've been having major technical difficulties. I'm not even going to get up here and pretend, Shelaine. We've been having some difficulties. I called my daughter before the show even began and said, you know what? I think I'm about ready to cancel this show, because the last 2 weeks, technically, it's been horrible. But I know when things like that happen, it's because somebody wants, the enemy wants it to be difficult.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to press through. Pray for me, because I don't know what to do. I've changed my internet. I've done all kinds of things, and I don't know. I don't know. But Yolanda, thank you for joining us from Arizona. It's hot out there. I don't know how y'all do it. Vegas is hot, but Arizona is some kind of different kind of hot.
Yeah.
I could feel it in my face when I went.
Yeah.
I got Lord. I just say, if anybody don't know Jesus, you better know him, because Arizona's hot. Hell is hotter than Arizona, folks.
Right. It's burning up.
Before I introduce Shelaine officially, I want to share why this subject is so important to me. And when I found out what she did for a living, I said, Shelaine, I got to have you on here. We got to talk about this. Many of you guys know this already, and some of you don't. So here you go. I lost my husband. It's been 14 years ago now, Shelaine. 14 years.
Yeah.
He was a pastor, amazing father, amazing husband, but I lost him to suicide. And it was devastating. And at that time, 14 years ago, that wasn't happening. Pastors weren't killing themselves. Now it has happened. More people do it, unfortunately. But at that time, I had no blueprint. Shelaine, no one to go to and talk to, really.
Yeah.
It was different. And so that's why I started this show, The Heart of a Pastor, because I wanted to be able to have a place, a platform where people could talk about these serious subjects. And even if you're a pastor, a minister, a leader, a community leader, a parent, you have to lead. And it's important for you to know that you have places where you can go and you can be strengthened. Good evening, Robert. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you so much. So I'm so glad to have this subject and to talk to you guys about it. I'm so glad to have Shelaine, and it makes it so much easier because I've known her for so long. And if I get emotional in the midst of this, I won't feel as bad because, because she's family. So I won't feel as bad if I get emotional in the midst of it. But let me tell you guys about Shelaine. I want to tell you about her because she's amazing. I'm going to tell you her resume, her information, but on a personal level, like she said, I've known her since she was a youngin', and she has just really done so many things in her life, and she does so many things to make me proud and to make my heart just beam. And I know if my husband was here today, he'd be so happy. He'd pull her up from her head.
Yeah.
That's what he would do, and squeeze her because he would be so happy. He was notorious for that, huh, Shelaine?
Yes, yes, very much so. You don't realize what you missed until it's gone, and that was one of the things I missed.
I don't know why you should miss being pulled up by your head.
It wasn't fun when it was happening, but when it stopped happening, I was like, oh, I missed that. I missed the nose squeezes and everything. Pastor Kevin was a big kid.
Yes, he was. He was. Anyway, Shelaine Vieux was born and raised in Riverside, California in December 2011. In December?
No, I moved here in December.
Are you? Oh, okay. Born. Oh, and in December. Okay, because I know you a June baby. Okay. In December 2011, she moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, read, Lisa, where she currently resides. Shelaine started her career in the federal system in November 2006 as a cashier at the Camp Pendleton Commissary in Oceanside, California. From there, she transferred throughout the Naval Hospital and 2 hospitals, Loma Linda and Phoenix, as a medical support assistant while pursuing her bachelor's degree in human services at the University of Phoenix. After graduating in March of 2013, she immediately started the Master of Social Work program at Arizona State University and completed that program in August 2015. Shelaine began working as a social worker at the Phoenix VA in the housing program in February 2016. In April 2020, she transferred to the suicide prevention program, where she continues to serve veterans. After years of obstacles and persistence, Shelaine obtained her clinical license in social work. In addition to her work in the VA at the VA, Shelaine has either volunteered or worked other jobs in the human service field, including Glendale Fire Department, Crisis Response Team, PSA Behavioral Health, CSS Behavioral Health, and currently holds a position at the La Frontera Impact of the Mobile Crisis Team. I meant to ask you earlier, as well as their Special Projects Team. She's done a lot. We are proud of her. We know that she is the one to come and have this conversation with us tonight as we talk about hope after hurt, suicide, conversation on suicide prevention. So thank you so much for being here, Shelaine. So glad
for having me. I appreciate it. I told Sister Lisa, I don't feel worthy, but I'm grateful that you thought I was worthy to have this conversation.
You are more than worthy. You are so amazing. We're so proud. And I just want to say, in this kind of fashion, I want you guys to say hello to her. I want you to clap for her. I want you to send her all kinds of emojis and smiles and let her know that she is loved. And I want to see what Robert said, because Robert had something to say. It's okay to admit that you're hiding behind the mask and you are vulnerable. Amen. Robert ready to dive in. Come on, Robert, dive in. We love it. We love it. And he says the poet John Donne's poems, "No man is an island to himself," is teaching us that we need God as we need each other to survive. Come on here and teach. Somebody trying to knock you out of your position here, Shelaine. Robert is here. He ain't playing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Doreen. Yes, she is welcome here. So, Shelaine, the first thing I wanted to ask you is, out of all of the careers and the positions all over the world, you could have been a fashion show model, you could have been an actress, you could have been a lawyer, you could have been a doctor. Why did you ultimately choose to work in suicide prevention?
Well, funny thing is, I actually wanted to be a lawyer because I'm sure you know that I used to love to argue a lot. And I thought I'd be a great lawyer back in the day. And so I was actually on that route.
Would have been.
Which, yeah, I was actually on that route. And then I did a little pivot. So at the time, as you know, I was married to a veteran, and just seeing the treatment that he was not getting, just seeing the coming back from the Iraqi war with the PTSD and all these things that I didn't even know anything about mental health, it was quite overwhelming for me. And I was going to University of Phoenix. I knew I wanted to go to school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to go to school. That was always a goal of mine. And so I just went one time, and I had a consultation with one of the advisors there at University of Phoenix in California, San Bernardino. And I was like, well, I'll just go with human HR. I was like, I'll just go HR route. And as I was doing it, I was like, I'm not feeling it. This is not me. I don't like it. And I didn't know that what I love to do in helping people had a name to it. Yeah. I didn't know, what I, thank you. What I like, things that I like to do as far as helping people, I didn't realize it had a name to it. And at the time that was human services, which is what I got my bachelor's in. And then I was going to stop there. We were going to go back to California. And then the VA here said, well, if you go to school here, we'll pay for your master's. I said, well, Mom, I guess we're staying a little longer because they're not paying in California. They're paying here. And so just working throughout the VA system on the admin side, I just seen a lot. And so it just became a passion. And to even back up some more, I was deeply affected by Pastor Kevin's passing. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Like that was my for real life father. Like that hit me like a ton of bricks. And so just thinking about all the things like obstacles, even in family, stressors, mindset battles that I've had myself, and having those thoughts on my own, it just led me into that. And I just felt like, well, if I had it and I've been working on it, and I even get struggles from time to time, but I have that support and I have that help, then I want to be that for somebody else. So so social work is what came. It was completely unexpected. That was nothing that I initially wanted to do. Lawyer was my route. And then it just, a pivot happened when I started seeing in the VA, especially too, the lack of care that even our veterans was getting. But again, we only have so many resources. So, it's not at fault of the VA necessarily or community. It's just we only have so many resources. So what do we do? So, and you and I were talking beforehand, and I was saying that my best and worst quality is I have a heart. I want to help everybody. I want everybody to be safe. I want to save everybody. And I had to realize you can't save everybody, but you can do your best to at least save one. So if you save one, you've done just enough. So
Amen.
That's how I got into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me what exactly in your area, what a day in the life Shelaine looks like.
So thank God we can work from home most days, because that VA can be very stressful. So what it looks like for us is we have at the VA, at least, we have you guys. I'm sure you guys are all aware of the National Crisis Line call 988. So for anyone who's needing any kind of support in that area, 988. that will get you to somebody that can help you, give you resources, guide you through the next steps that you need to get the help that you need. Option 1 for veterans. So we get every morning we get a list of veterans that I've called the crisis line, who either are actually having suicidal ideations, have either attempted suicide, have done some behaviors, things like that. So we kind of knock those out. We kind of divvy them up on our team at work and reach out to them. A lot of times they're not necessarily suicidal. Sometimes people are just angry because they couldn't get the appointment that they needed. So we try to weed those things out. That's one thing we were talking about before too. If you are actually suicidal, if you have actually attempted, if you have actually done some kind of behavior, this is where you want to go. So, I don't know if you ever see it, but every now and again, I'll just post on my Facebook page random, not random, but different resources for mental health support. So, because I think it's a difference. They're already overwhelmed. The National Crisis Line calls. They're already overwhelmed. The responders. They're overwhelmed with all of the calls that they're getting. So we want to just make sure they're valid calls. If you're just having a stressful day, you need to process. You need to get some things off your chest. We got some other resources for you. And let's try to use this for people who are really suicidal. So for me, I always tell my vets, I am a habitual police caller. If you do not get back to me, because we're pretty much primarily over the phone, unless our veterans are on the inpatient mental health unit, I can go see them there. If they're on the medical unit for some reason, we can see them there. But overall, our primary form of communication is by phone. So if you do not answer me, if you do not respond to me, if you don't respond to my text messages, my letters, if I'm calling your family, I'm calling the police. I want eyes on you because I need to make sure you are okay. Because
welfare check,
yeah, I do those everybody doesn't like them, but I'd rather you be mad at me and alive than the contrary. So
that's right.
So I do I am habitual at work. I am habitual in calling the police. I'm like, I need eyes on this person right now. But also we have our own caseloads. So again, if a veteran, typically elderly veterans, if they're dealing with chronic pain, I want to say this, a lot of times there's a myth that people with suicidal ideations have just mental health disorders. That's not always the case. Sometimes it could be chronic pain. Sometimes it could be, you've witnessed something witnessed death or witnessed, lost a loved one, for example. And a lot of times people think it's just elderly people when in all reality, I have a lot of people on my caseload are even younger than me, and I'll be 42. So I'm telling myself I'm still young, but I have a lot of people even younger than me.
You are.
So it's not just like the elderly people anymore. And like you said, it wasn't even just pastors. I've had pastors on my case before. And like you said, back in the day, we didn't see that 14 years ago. We didn't see that. So I've had that. I've had people of just various populations, LGBTQ population, homeless population. So it's not just, you have to have just a mental health disorder. It could be an array of things. Thank you, Jessica. I just seen her message. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
Just you telling us a day in the life of Shelaine Vieux.
Oh, okay. So I kind of make things up as I go. So I'm gonna put a pause on the VA. I also work with my good friend Devana at the La Frontera Mobile Crisis. So we get crisis calls where somebody could be suicidal, somebody could be homicidal, somebody could just be having auditory visual hallucinations, just an array of things. So we do home visits. So we are kind of similar to the welfare check, unless of course there's it's a dangerous situation where we have to have police escort with us. Overall, we kind of are the welfare check in that sense, and we do assessments. So at the VA, I do suicide risk assessment. So we do a detailed risk assessment of current ideations, past ideations, attempts, behaviors. What I mean behaviors too, a lot of people think that's actually just action of pulling a knife out like they're gonna cut, or pulling a gun out. That can be writing a letter. That can be suicidal behaviors, posting on social media. That can be researching assisted suicide. That could be a number of things. So it's not just the typical, I pulled some pills out to take them, or I pulled a gun out, or I did this. It's so many things that can be constituted as a behavior. So I think it's important to see that I do my best to kind of try to look at what they're not saying as well, because a lot of times people are afraid to ask for help. I think somebody wrote in here, it's okay to be vulnerable, or it's okay to take off the mask or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people aren't comfortable with that. So sometimes you gotta kind of try to hear what they're not saying. And sometimes you got to pull it out because people are uncomfortable with it. I've struggled with it myself. One thing that I tell my vets a lot, I don't know if you remember this, Sister Lisa. I was probably in your Sunday school class. I was probably 15. And you made a comment. Oh, I don't know exactly how you said it, but I remember you said you can take anything good from anybody. And we were speaking, I think that day, and it was so many years ago, so forgive me because my brain ain't 20 no more. But it was so many years ago. And I remember you said, I think it was someone from a different like religious background or something like that, but you got a quote or something from them, and you said that you can take anything good from somebody. So I say that to say, I'm not the biggest fan of this person, but I love this quote. I think she does good work. It's just some stuff I can't dibble and dabble with, but I think I love this quote. So it's Iyanla Vanzant, and she says, we can treat the truth or we can treat the lie. And if we treat the lie, we still got to go to bed with the truth.
Ooh, so that hit me. I like that.
Yeah, that hit me. So I say that a lot to my veterans. So we're more of a support program at the VA in our role. We're more of a support. So we're not like a therapy program, anything. We can refer them for those extra services, but we're more of a support program. So I say that a lot because I even know myself, I've been holding up a mask. It wasn't until probably a couple of months back when I had a candid conversation with somebody where I was like, I'm struggling. Like, I need some help myself. And I told a friend before, I said, it's a struggle when you are a strong person, because strong people aren't allowed to have weak moments. When people look to you, I have my own therapist now. So I told my therapist, I said, it's so hard sometimes when I feel like I need a release. I don't have all the answers. I need my own help. And I think it's important to even take care of ourselves, because broken people raise broken people, hurt people. That's true. I think it's important for us to even take, I know I'm kind of veering off on what you asked me. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of going.
Go ahead.
I think it's important for us, even if you're in any kind of healthcare, if it's, mental health, if you're a nurse, if you're anyone that provides care for someone, it's important for you to take care of yourself. Pastors, because you're taking on a lot of weight. You're taking on a lot of stress. You're essentially taking on other people's burdens and still trying to manage your own. I told somebody, I got to manage my own. So I made it a point. My uncle lives close by. It's funny because he would always tell me, well, such and such is in a crisis and they need help. 988 or call the local crisis. Don't bring everybody to me because you're about to stress me out. When I come home, I made it a point. When I come home, I have to have peace and quiet. Had this not been this podcast, my lights would be off right now, because that's been like a major, like when I'm in the dark sometimes, it's just so peaceful to me. It lets me rest. It gives my mind a break. And I told somebody, I used to think my mom was crazy because when she would get off of work, she would sit in the car and just like relax. And I used to be like, why is she doing that? That's weird. I sit in the car for like 30 minutes a day before I come in the house. That is self-care. Sister Boy last week, I know, was talking about self-care. And that's more than just going to get your nails done, going to get your feet done, going to get your hair done. That's exercise. That's like giving yourself a mental break. I sit in the car now just to kind of unwind so I can not take the day inside with me. Because when I went through my divorce, I was taking work home with me all the time because I didn't want to deal with that stressors. That was causing a great deal of depression. You know what I mean? So that was just like overwhelming for me. So I find myself doing things that kind of fuel me up, that make me feel better. I just joined this double Dutch class. Lord knows I ain't double Dutch.
Seeing that.
Yes, it's been so much fun. I can't jump like that no more, but I'm gonna get there.
I was gonna send a message and say, when are we gonna get to see a video?
I have some, but I ain't instilled yet. So let me, let me sharpen up my tools a little bit and then I'll post them. But yeah, so no day is alike. So it's hard. It's kind of difficult to say, well, this is what we do exactly every day. We do have regular tasks, but it can go you can have a crisis. One of my coworkers and I think it was in 2023, we were recognized by the Biden administration because there was a veteran. Because remember, I told you most of our stuff we do is over the phone. So it's already difficult dealing with somebody who's having these suicidal thoughts, who's planning, who has intent, who's like, if you hang up this phone, they might go and do something you don't know. So it's difficult, like, excuse me, in your face. It's difficult already in your face, but imagine being on the phone and somebody's attempted suicide. Yeah. Like, I'm nowhere near. So we actually was recognized in 2023 by the Biden administration. It was her vet. It was one of my coworkers. It was her vet. And we have this like team chat. So everybody knows if somebody says call 911, just call 911. I don't know what we call it for, but we call it. Yeah. And so we were able to get the fire department and the police there in time. And she had taken like 30 pills, high dosage pills, and was like on her way out. And so thank God she survived. But again, and it was somebody young, 20, probably 23. So I think this is why it's important. Like, we don't know what people are going through. So I think that's why it's important to show kindness, that it's important to like give grace. I'm that strange person. People always say, Shelaine, like, why do you do that? I just feel like if I don't say anything, I just told somebody the other day, if I don't do everything I could have done to help somebody, give them the resource, hear them out, whatever the case may be, and they die by suicide, then I feel like that blood is on my hands. Yeah. So I feel like I have to go do whatever I can. I just experienced in January my very first suicide, veteran suicide. And that took me out. That just took me all the way out. Because he was only like 26, young guy, was doing so good. We had been like having progress, been, kind of getting him out of the house. That isolation is a big thing. People don't believe. I used to even think just being home alone it was okay. But when COVID happened, I was in the house too much. That was messing with my mental health. So I think it's important to realize that you just don't know what people are going through. Anything can cause somebody just to flip, in the mind. So, anyway, so it can go from it's a peaceful, calm day to we're coming into like chaos. So it just depends on the day. It just depends on, is it a holiday? Is it a veteran-centered holiday? Is it Christmas? Everybody think Christmas is a happy time, but that's very depressing for some people because they don't have family, or because they lost their battle buddies, or because their parents died by suicide on Christmas, or you know what I mean? So what's happy to us may be a struggle for somebody else. Absolutely. So any day can be very peaceful. Mondays are pretty much typically the most difficult times because we're off on the weekends. And so when we're coming back, there's like a lot of crisis calls. There's a lot of risk assessments that we have to do. There's just so much. So every day looks different. But I make sure, even in work, I've had to start to increase my self-care even at work. So I take my time where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling elevated. So let me take a walk around the hospital. I'm feeling elevated. Let me do some deep breathing.
I want to mention.
Go ahead.
I wanted to, you was talking about self-care, and I wanted to mention what Robert had put up here, Exodus 18:13 through 27. And it's the part when Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came, and Moses was doing everything. He was telling everybody, he was speaking over them. He'd be there from morning to night, speaking over the people. And Jethro says, what you're doing is not good. You need to split the work and divide it, and not try to do everything, because you will wear yourself out. Yep. Do you know that I learned one of the best forms of self-care is saying no?
I didn't realize that. I'm new to that.
Sometimes you just have to say no.
Yeah.
You
don't like that's the whole sentence.
Eileen had something she wanted to say too. Go ahead.
I was reading it too. They shield them from reality. That is true. Yeah, I didn't realize no was a complete sentence. I thought I knew. Knew before, but it wasn't until I was talking to my therapist, and I was like, I feel like if I have a resource to help somebody, then why not help somebody? She's like, yeah, but it's burning you out. You're over here stressing about it. Now we talking about it. We got past it. Now we back on the topic. And I'm like, I know. Remember I told you best and worst quality. I know I should say no, but I don't always say no. I think another important thing, I didn't realize, I'm going to back up to like how I got into the field. I didn't realize literally until after graduation that suicide rates are high among social workers. I was like, well, geez, I wish I would have known that before I went to school.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize like that was like the one of the top stressors. And for as far as career fields, I was like, well, I wish I would have known that before. But it can get very stressful. But I think, which is why I think that self-care is very important. I have to be honest, I haven't been the best with self-care. One thing that kind of got me going is at the time, my clinical supervisor, when we would do our weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings, she would always start with, so what did you do for self-care this weekend? I'm like, girl, I ain't doing nothing for no self-care. What does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. But even though, like, although I'm finally licensed, thank God that's over. So now that I don't have to see her regularly, I still check in like, hey, you want to know what I did for self-care this week? I'm doing it. If I didn't take anything else from you, I took that. Like, I have to take care of myself, because if I don't take care of myself, how good am I going to be for anyone else? So, and I think having those, Yolanda, Devana, the two that just came on, those have been people I could just say, look, listen, I'm going through. I remember I called Yolanda, and I couldn't even get the full sentence out. She started praying. I was like, dang, so you don't even know what's wrong. You don't even know what's going on.
That's right.
But she just gets right into it. And Devana, I think, came over my house one day and was like, you're not about to sit up in this dark like this. No, we're about to pray. We're about to like get in the word. So I think having those important, healthy friendships even make a difference, because that's
self-care.
That's self-care in itself. I've had the friends who, don't know what to say. And I get it. Suicide, that's uncomfortable. That's not a fun topic. Mental health, that's not fun. But it's important to have those who can really see you and who can really feed into you when you need it, and who can really say, hey, yeah, you're going left. Like, I need you to come back this way. You know what I mean? So, and I'm saying that because it's helped me tremendously when my thoughts have started to go left like that, because it's happened with me before. I've even engaged in behavior before. I never even really been specific with anyone, but years and years ago, I've had behaviors that if I was to say it, people would probably be like, you? I'm like, why y'all think strong people can't have emotions and feelings and struggle too? We struggle too. Yeah. So, but can I tell you, can I give you some myths? Because these are some things that I think are very important that people get confused. Talking about suicide is not going to lead someone into suicide or having suicidal ideations. I think it's important. What people don't realize is suicide is everyone's business. It's not just this is one thing that I do struggle with at work, is because we have a suicide prevention team, which has only been there for X amount of years. For some reason, people think they can't deal with suicide. That's everybody's business. So it's okay to ask about it. I was going to say earlier, I'm that strange or weird person who, if I see somebody, I don't know, in the store crying, I'm like, hey, let me go over here and talk to this person. Because you never know. Because what if I didn't say anything and then you hear about it on the news that this person just took their life? Because you don't know what people are going through. The guy, I can't remember his name. But the guy that jumped off of the bridge in, was it Sacramento? Where was it at? You remember many years ago, the young man, I think he said I believe he was on a train. I'm going to have to look it up. But I believe he was on a train or something. He said if one person would have even said hello or spoken to him, he wouldn't have attempted. So he jumped off of the bridge. I can't remember exactly what bridge, but it was in California. But it had one person said something. He said he wouldn't even done it. So we don't even realize how powerful, and like the word says, life and death are in the tongue. So our words are very powerful. So we can even speak life into somebody by even just saying hello.
Yes.
So you don't even need, and that's a full sentence right there for some, And I think it's important. You have to assess like every situation. I'm sure if I wasn't on here happy-go-lucky, bubbly right now, you probably would be able to pick something up and be like, what's up? We need to talk after something, So every day is a different day. with the new administration, things have been a little stressful. I'll be honest. Things have been a little stressful, but we just pull together as a team. We do have a very small team, and we have a lot. We have probably over, I want to say over 200 people that we manage, and it's only like 11 of us on the team. So it's a lot. It's a lot that it's a lot of people who are just struggling with even depression. Like you have so many things. Like people can be depressed. Like I said, people can be homeless. People can be drug users. I had a vet recently. His wife wanted a divorce after 27 years, and those thoughts just skyrocketed right there. So if you're dealing with somebody who already has those mental health challenges, or that have those thoughts of suicide and feeling like life is better without being here, then any one little trigger can that's his name. Yes. Kevin Hines. Yes. What do they remember the name of the bridge? He said it was Kevin Hines in 2018. So there's just so many things in life that can, in individuals, you have your stressors. I have my stressors. Everyone on here has their stressors. Our coping abilities are different. So if our normal level of coping and functioning goes out the window, any little thing can trigger us and make us want to go to that next level. So I think it's important to just be aware, be cognizant, educate ourselves. And like I said, every now and again, I'll just randomly post like, hey, if you're, having any kind, go to Gay Bridge. That's what it was. I was like, I know. Okay, go to Gay Bridge. But if we just be aware and educate ourselves, I think, and realize that it is everyone's job, everyone's business, because suicide does affect more than just the person that decided to take their lives.
Amen.
One thing I will say, and you know that from experience, right? Like I said, you were the wife. I was a spiritual child, and that thing hit me like a ton. At the time, my ex-husband and I, that was very weighty. Because I had never heard of it. I had never seen it. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to process it. And so like years down the line, once I got into it, you have a better awareness, a better empathy. One thing that people always say, well, I've heard a lot, is that that's the coward's way out, or that's the what I had a vet just say. Basically, that's a way that a coward would act, is by taking their lives. But I'm like, you don't know the weight that somebody really carries. Trust me, I don't think that if they felt in that moment there was any other way, I'm sure they would have taken the other way if they could have taken. You know what I mean? So I try to be empathetic, sympathetic to the fact that I don't believe we should judge other people's walk like that just because we don't know. Because if I was in that situation and I felt like that was my only option, what would I do in that moment? You just don't know. So that's why I've gotten out of the habit of saying, well, if it was me, this is what I would do. You really don't know what you'll do until you're in that situation. And that's in anything. So I don't know. I just have I love, like I believe it or not, I was always I really truly loved working with the homeless population. But working with the homeless population here for 5 years, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. It was just way too stressful. I used to get frustrated all the time because I felt like we were rewarding people for their bad behavior. Meaning, if you're choosing, now this was back then, this is a couple of years back, so not now necessarily, but if you are choosing to do meth, I didn't realize like Arizona's like meth capital of the world. I didn't even know what meth was until I moved out here. But you're using meth, you're using fentanyl, you're using all of that, and your rent is $50, but you're getting evicted for non-payment. I feel like I shouldn't have to find you another place to stay. I feel like $50, yeah, you can go crush some cans and get that. So I got out of that because I felt myself becoming callous, and I was like, I love this spot. You remember we used to go to Fairmount Park, feed the homeless, the chili and all that stuff. So I love that. And my mom and aunts and them and uncles and them, they still live in California.
Yes.
So I felt like I was losing that. So I was like, let me get out of this so I don't lose that. And so that's how I ended up getting into suicide prevention. But
Mm.
another thing I wanted to say, so I jotted down a few notes. It
Oh,
says,
come on, notes.
I was like, let me get some stats going here. It said about 740,000 global deaths from suicide occur annually. That's approximately one death every 43 seconds.
Say that again.
It says about 740,000 global deaths from suicide occur annually. That's about 40. That's about one suicide every 43 seconds. That's a lot.
Wow.
So when we
Yeah.
say, well, they need to just get over it, or they just need to, you don't know. It's like we're judging people at the chapter of their life that we walked in on. You don't know what stress, what struggle, what hell, what anything that somebody has been through to get to that point. Some people, we have supports, right? We have family, we have friends, we have all of this who love us. Some people don't have that. I just have a veteran. I'm just like, I just want you to be my grandfather. Like, he's such a sweet old man. Double amputee, elderly. So, they say typically elderly white males are the ones who are like higher up on the chain to attempt suicide. Elderly white male, very sweet, humble person. Wife died suddenly within like 2 weeks of having a stroke, so unexpected. And he has no family, no kids. No, his sister died 6 months after his wife. So literally has no family. Has a few people who like he served with or he worked with. He said the only thing that's keeping me alive is my dog, and then the dog dies. So to other people, we'll just get another dog. That's his family. You can't just get rid of. You can't just. Yeah. I'm just, like, my dog died. I would never replace her. That was my baby. You know what I mean? So you're dealing with so many different people with so many different stresses. Where for me or for you or for somebody else, it would be nothing. But that's astronomical for somebody else. So I think it's important to just be aware that what I say, for every 43 seconds, someone is dying from suicide. So though we probably can't save them all, if we get just one, we've done something. So I think that's why it's important to be kind to people, to be supportive of people, to just lend a hand. Like, you just never know. Because imagine your worst day, and I walked in and said, just get over it.
Yeah.
You'd probably be ready to punch me in the face if you were not Pastor Lisa. But I'm just saying, like, imagine it's your very, very worst day. Though I probably don't understand it, I can at least empathize with you. I can at least, if nothing else, I just told a friend recently, hey, I know what you're dealing with is strong. I have a friend that's going through a divorce right now. I said, listen, I know how I felt. I went to therapy because my depression was at an all-time high when I was going through a divorce. I thought this was going to be my husband for the rest of my life. Like, nothing can break this bond ever. And for, I had to make the decision, like, this is not helping, this is not serving, this is not healthy for me or for you anymore. So we have to call it quits. That was still very depressing for me. And I felt like, man, if I don't get some help now, I'm not going to be here. So I was going to therapy and getting that support. So I told my friend one thing that helped me, because again, the way she's talking now is what I was doing back then. And I know my thoughts were going very dark. So I'm like, before you get there, if we got to go to a mountaintop and just scream at the top of our lungs, if we have to, whatever we have to do that's healthy, let's do that. So even our healing is different for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, the way I heal, I mean, sleeping has been a lot for me lately. It's been good because I'm not good with sleep. But that's even been good. Doing these different activities regularly. So I'm intentional about, even when I do my own therapy, I schedule it. So I get off of work at 6 p.m. Sometimes I'm there till like 7 till 7:30 because it's so busy. And I'm like, but I got to take care of me too. So I'm intentional about, she knows I don't like wasting money. So I'm intentional about, we're going to schedule my sessions at 6 o'clock. So, and if I don't show up, then that's $125. I'm not paying you no $125. So I'll make sure I'm off of work so I can take care of me. So, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's a tough and it's a difficult subject, but it's everyone's business. And I think it's important to, if nothing else, if you don't remember anything else, just there's a resource available, 988, if nothing else. I post, and I always encourage people to post in your local areas, like Vegas. They have a local crisis line. And that's important too, because if you have somebody, say, even as a pastor, if you're like, okay, this is beyond, because we've gone to churches for the crisis gig that I do. We've even gone to churches. And you would think, well, this is a church. Like, y'all know it's, but this is this is an uncomfortable area. So we've gone to churches and done assessments and transported people to the hospital, or, you know, a lot of times we do safety planning because the goal is to keep people in there, keep people home in the community. But if it's at a point where we're like, yeah, no, I don't feel like you're safe, especially over the phone with my vets. If I don't know, I'm calling the police. I'm sorry. You can hate me. You can be upset, but you're going to be alive if it's up to me. So, I think it could be a stressful job. It could be a stressful environment. It could be a stressful career. But it's necessary. I think we all need that support and love and care. So I'm just battling.
Absolutely. No, this has been so good. I listened to someone one time and they said, when you think about suicide, everybody has these things like they should have known they could go get help. They should have known this. They should have known that. Yeah. She said, but imagine this, your deepest point of despair that you ever had. Right. That's where you are. When you are suicidal, it is a despair that you cannot get out of. And people like think, you know, I was going through this, or I was going through that. And I made it through, but maybe you wasn't in despair. Maybe you just was struggling.
Right.
It's a difference when you're in despair.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
So our time is getting away from us. I just want to ask though, so when we talk about prevention, say someone is watching right now, of course, call 988. But you want to prevent some of these suicidal ideations, and you're going through counseling and you're doing these things. What are some good tips to kind of like keep yourself in a good space?
I think, I mean, every situation is different. Every one thing I tell my vets, everyone's struggles are different. Everyone's stresses are different. Everyone's reactions are different. So you have to, one thing I will say is, you better than I know you. So what has worked in the past when you've been in that mindset, and how did you get out of that? We do a lot of safety planning. I'm big on safety planning. I even wrote my own safety plan before, because I'm like, when you get stressed, when you get overwhelmed, when you get suicide, you're not thinking straight. So the most basic of information is easy to forget. I'm very good with phone numbers, but get me into a mental state where I'm not good, I can't remember I call my mom, I can't remember her number sometimes. So I always tell people to take your safety plan. So your safety plan says, hey, this is what triggers me. This is a warning sign to let me know I'm not in a good space right now. This lets me or my provider or friends or whoever know that I'm not in a good space. So let's write those things down. So when they happen, okay, so then what do we do? Like, what are some internal coping strategies that work for us? Do we, deep breathing? Some people like to meditate. Some people like to pray. Some people like just things that we can do in that moment that let us know, okay, let me get my body back on an even playing field. Yeah. And then who can I call? Who's a healthy distractor? Not necessarily to call for help, but to say, hey, like, let's just go have some dinner. Like, let me get my mind off of things right now so I can clear my mind, get into a healthier mindset. Doesn't mean the problem goes away, but we're able to approach it in a healthier mind state. And then who can I call for help outside of the 988 and all that stuff? And then one thing I tell my guys is, in the event, if you're a person who has attempted suicide by pills, by knives, side note, I just had a police officer who's a young vet who attempted with her service weapon a couple of times. So she was forced into retirement, right? So it can happen to anybody. Even the people we're calling on to go check on the people can be dealing with it as well. But I always tell people, if it's that you have a gun, like I have a gun in my house, but I just had it for protection just because I live alone.
Yeah.
But some people have a gun and they said, well, if I was to kill myself, I would use my gun. So how about let's take the let's lock it up, give somebody else the key until we feel safe enough. I've had veterans give their guns to the police and say, hey, hold these for about 30 days. Let's see how I'm feeling in 30 days. Give it back.
Yeah.
I have people who say, I'm not going to kill myself today, but I'm going to kill myself at the end of the month in front of the VA, in front of the big sign. I'm going to shoot my brains out. Oh, well, sheesh, that's not stressful for me. So what can we do in those moments? So let's incorporate like their other supports. So I think it just depends on who it is, on what the situation is, what would be a likely way for them to attempt. Because again, some people are pills, some people are knives, some people are drugs, some people are suicide by cop. I've had veterans try the suicide by cop thing. So I think whatever that situation looks like for them, the goal is to put some time and space and distance between an initial thought and action. So if this is the thought, I don't care if it's 25 seconds, that can save a life. So we want to put some space. So if that space looks like, hey, I just told a vet the other day, hey, your wife said she'll take your gun. She'll put it somewhere you don't know. I have another vet, his sister has a gun. So just separating yourself from the action, from the ability to do it, and get help immediately. I don't care if that's going to a local emergency room, the VA emergency room, if that's calling the local crisis line. I always say a lot of people don't like, I'll be honest, a lot of people can't stand the VA. A lot of people don't like it. So even if you don't want to come here, let me call a crisis team so they can come to you and support you. And a lot of times, believe it or not, a lot of times they say, this talk meant so much to me. I feel so much better. Not that those thoughts just went away completely, but you feel like you have a little bit of hope. I don't care if you have like this much more hope, it gets you further away from the action of taking your life. So I think it just depends on, every situation. I hope that made sense.
Wow. Yes, it really, really does. I mean, yes, thank you so much. I just want to also say, Shelaine, I appreciate you. I appreciate your service. Like I said, you could have chosen any kind of career, and this one was one with a big, big heart. So we really, really appreciate you serving us. And for me personally, have lost a family member. It makes me feel good to know that there are people out there that's their focus and that's their heart. And I really appreciate that.
We love it. Can I show his picture?
Yes.
This is the Pastor Kevin Brown. We love him so much. I keep him on my mantle with my brother. I have my brother, my dad's obituaries. I keep them all together on my little mantle over here. So this is where part of that became from, because that it did my heart. Man, my heart was so broken. But being in this field now, I'm aware that you just don't know how deep somebody's thoughts can go. And so that's why we can't judge. We can't judge what other people's walk. So, but we still love Pastor Kevin always.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much, Shelaine. I really do. I want to tell you all that next week we have Pastor Dominic Woods from New Life Christian Fellowship of the Inland Empire. God, we got some old Inland Empire and some current Inland Empire guests coming back to back. So we're glad to have him. He's going to be talking about the stigma attached to mental health issues in the church. So we're really excited about that. That's going to be a good topic. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. Yes, absolutely. You sure can. You can say two more things.
September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. So I'd like to say that because that's when you'll see a lot of like information about suicide prevention going out. So just be aware. So they might be doing things in your communities. So that's why it's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, because we want to bring awareness. And we also give out a lot of gun locks at the VA as well to, because people hold their weapons. We want to make sure they have they're again, putting time and space between that thought and action. So if that's even a gun lock, and we always tell people to freeze the key. One of my coworkers had started telling people freeze the key. That way, if you're having that thought, you either got to let the key thaw out or even put it under the faucet, but that's still putting time and space between that thought and action. And by the time you get tired of it, you don't let your frustration out in another way. So just wanted to say that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Girl, you are a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. I want to piggyback on that because in September, we will be launching our new project, Heal to Rise, for Suicide Prevention Month, Awareness Month. So, yeah, we're going to be tapping into that too. So then we'll be putting whatever you're doing, we're going to be putting it up on our podcast too in September, because we know that you just never know what somebody's going through, and it's good to know that information is out there and that there are people that care. So do stay right there, Shelaine. I want to say a proper goodbye to you. I want to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for staying engaged. We appreciate you. We love you. See you next Tuesday with Pastor Dominic Woods. God bless you all so much. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.